lot. No, not a lot at all.
Well, that's good to know.
But a little noisy. There's a lot of background noise. That's okay.
And we're not even in the city, so...
Yeah, although
that one.
It's windy and the leaves are rustling and, well, it's not too windy.
No, not yet. It's definitely starting to look like fall.
Yes. But, that's a welcome thing. I think.
For the most part.
Yeah, okay, you have me there. Well, welcome back to another episode of Scouting Stuff. You got two of us this evening, Scouter Ken, and across the way here, sitting on my back porch, is Scouter Corey. We haven't had him on in a while.
No. Some of you might remember me as Hawkeye.
Yes.
I've decided to keep that name.
Yes. From Beavers into Cubs, and I guess now even into Scouts.
Into Scouts, yep.
Crazy. I just want to I have a thought as to a thing to talk about.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure that I have the info in front of me here because, as you do.
So while you're looking that up, I was busy emailing just before I came over, sending email stuff to parents.
I got a few of the emails you sent.
Yep. It's time for Fall Cubs.
It is. Back to full week schedules.
Indeed. After some break, I suppose. But then dropping Beavers, I feel a little bit underworked right now.
Yeah, right? You don't have two sections to run anymore.
Not anymore.
I mean, I guess technically neither do I, because, my Beaver retired. She's in Cubs now. And my other one's not quite able to join Beavers yet.
Oh, she retired. That was the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Just announced it at dinner. Yeah, I'm retired from Beavers. Okay.
Oh yeah, I laughed for a little bit. I told my youngest that your youngest had retired from Beavers, and she thought that was amusing.
Yes, I shall forward.
I guess not your youngest daughter.
Yeah, my youngest daughter.
Yeah,
my youngest. He's not quite at Beaver age yet. Another year or so, but
it's going faster than you think.
It is. So I'll be back on the 3 sections bandwagon here soon enough.
Ain't that the truth?
Although it was nice, actually, with Cubs not having started yet, and we're going to miss this. We're going to miss the first couple anyways as her fastball season wraps up. But it was nice with Cubs not having started yet that last week I could actually just go to the scout meeting and just hang out as a scouter for a bit. Don't get to do that very often.
Oh yeah, when you actually get to spend the whole 2 hours there instead of trying to divide your time between sections.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, got 2 in that one now, so.
Yep. Yeah, now you have 2 scouts and 1 cub.
Yep. Like I said, I'm just hoping they all stay in the program. Actually, yeah, if they all re-up next year, I will have the quad set.
Oh, that's right.
Beaver, Cub, Scout, Vent. You will.
That gets a little bit more tricky when you're trying to split yourself between.
Yeah.
I suppose you could do Tuesday Beavers, unless the Beaver group gets big enough, they do Mondays again. You could do Tuesday Beavers, Wednesday Cubs and Scouts, and I don't know when Vince decides that they're going to meet.
Whenever they decide to meet. There's really no set schedule.
Yeah, so that would be okay.
Yeah, that'd work all right. I just hope there's a good vent company for her to join at the time. Although, a lot of this kids she's in Scouts with now are going to be the ones moving up to vents, and they're a pretty solid crew. So,
right.
If Tom Kowalczyk sticks around,
that would be nice.
Yeah.
I don't think he is. I think that he might be dropping out right away. I
saw him at the last Scout meeting, but yeah, I don't know if they re-upped him for 22 or not.
Not that I know of yet. We'll see. I don't know. It's always kind of disappointing when youth move on. However, it's not, what's the word? It's not unforeseeable.
No, there's certainly a point where, it stops being someone's thing, unless they're me, I guess, or a handful of people that I may have aged out of the movement with. But there is a time when, you know, for a lot of people, it does stop being their thing. And I mean, actually, it's funny. I ended up in a sort of a rather deep, kind of sad conversation today, and I won't go into most of the details, but part of it had to do with, well, I mean, it kind of all centered around identity and how, you know, things like Scouts and, you know, sort of these community groups. And I mean, you can lump other things in here too, churches, for example, or other sporting teams. If you've taken part in like particular sporting events year after year after year, Juliana with fastball, for example, these kind of all become locuses of your identity, right? They're things that, you know, kind of help you forge and shape your sense of you as you.
That's true.
And I mean, maybe there's a time where you know, are like, this part of me, I like, you know, we're done. That happens.
It does happen. Yep. I guess that's part of human growth, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. So it's, I mean, yeah, you never like to see somebody move on, especially someone who's like, you know, been around for a long time and is just like, you know, wow, you are like exemplary of like what this organization is.
Yes.
But at the same time, yeah, I mean, interests do change over time. Ella shows no sign of losing interest yet. So
thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
My three were struggling a little bit, but I think it's because, you know, like the last 2 years have kind of been, they haven't had a great experience. I don't know that a lot of youth have had a great experience.
Well, we're not even counting 2020.
No, I think we just need to write that one right off.
Yeah,
and then
that one just, no.
2019 was mostly a good year up until after January. And then 2020 was a train wreck.
Yep. And I mean, like, we did better than, I think, at least from what I've heard, you know, the feedback we received, we did better than a lot of groups in terms of maintaining youth engagement, maintaining membership roles.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that was, you know, another thing that I was touching on with this other person that I was talking with today is that, yeah, like virtual is not, you know, we've learned the limits of just how much the virtual can substitute for the real.
Absolutely. And there is a limit.
There is. There is a very hard limit there. And it definitely, you know, like I totally get why if some youth had just soured on the program as a result. And I mean, like, in a way it is kind of unfortunate because it's like, yeah, like this was just a weird time.
It was so weird.
And, you know, it's unfortunate that maybe that's what made you sour on the program because we literally couldn't do anything else. But if it did, like at the same time, it's like, yeah, I totally get it. It was a weird time. And like we even had, you know, there was one, we had, you know, an issue too where like we had one scout and she's back now. But for a while, she kind of in mid 2020, she's like, I think I might be done with Scouts. You know, maybe I'll go like try the guiding, the Trex program that they do. I think she did like a handful of meetings there and was like, nope, coming back. You know, and not to, I mean, you know, I don't mean that as a shot across Guide's bow. That was just her experience of it.
No, not at all. Well, and
but like it forced a lot of people into like this rethink, like, is this really a thing that I'm like a thing with? For her, it was. She came back.
Yep.
But you know, maybe that's not everyone's story. We know it's not everyone's story. We don't have everyone back.
No, we don't. But I think we all know that virtually every youth organization either adapted or they shut down.
Yep.
And those that adapted did the best that they could with it. And those that shut down did it because that's what they thought was the best. And so be it.
Exactly. And I mean, even now, you know, fastball's changed somewhat. They're still kind of fumbling in the darkness a little bit in terms of, you know, the particulars of some of how they carry out the program. It's mostly working. You know, Juliana had a great fastball season earlier in the summer. Elena's having a good one now. But,
perfect.
You know, still like the way we do things is a little different. And some of that's probably going to be permanently different. Some of it's hopefully only different for a little while longer. But, you know, like it's, yeah, I don't know. But at the same time, things are starting to kind of creep back towards normalcy. I saw a sample station at a grocery store a couple weeks back.
That is like I don't even know how to
That's
take that.
literally from the before times.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a relic that you should hold dear.
I know. I saw it and I was just like, what is this? This is like
You're giving samples of
2019 in here or something? Like. And then today, William and I had to run out for a little errand over at the Save on Foods north of here. And they had the little kid shopping carts out.
Oh.
The junior shopper.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, which he was just like, a cart. So then he was pushing it around the store. Very cute.
And he's at that age, he can push that little cart around.
Yeah.
I love those little carts.
I know. But like, again, that was a thing that went away for a while and now they're back. So.
Yeah. It's too bad. It's too bad.
Speaking of William, my main thought was actually, I just wanted to geek out tonight a little bit about Squirrel Scouts. Because, like, oh my gosh. I mean, on the one hand, okay. So, for those of you who didn't tune in to Scouting 5 that I released last week, the Scout Association in the UK has just launched a new program. It's called Squirrel Scouts. And, I mean, the logo is just the most awesome thing because it's literally a silhouette of a squirrel and the tail is a big stylized S. It's just the best.
That's cool.
Yes. Actually, I have it here. Where is it here? Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That is a thing. So that's their version of beavers.
No, they have Beaver Scouts.
What?
Yes, they
Okay,
do.
then.
So they've had Beaver. So, I mean, let's, kind of wander back a little bit. Because, of course, initially the Scout program was founded way back over a century ago.
Yep.
And some years into that, of course, feedback from a lot of the leaders who were helping run Scout groups was, like, hey, I mean, we're here, our boys are having fun, but like we've got our younger boys along with us. And is there a program for them? And that is how we got Cub Scouts, right? Which was, I think,
Makes
now
sense.
also over a century ago. Or maybe just. I should remember these dates, but I don't.
All good.
Yeah, don't at me. But, and then of course, fast forward to Canada a few decades back, and basically the same sort of considerations led to the formation of Beaver Scouts.
Yeah, it was
Again,
many decades back because...
Not quite 5, around 4.5, I think now.
Yeah, that sounds right. Because it would have been I'm going to date myself a little bit. It would have been in the early 80s that I was a Beaver Scout.
Yeah, that's late 80s for me, but yeah, same idea.
Yep.
So, yeah, but that was apparently, Beaver. So that was a Canadian idea, and we kind of exported that one. And it's been picked up. The Irish have Beaver Scouts, the Scout Association UK. Australia has Joey Scouts, but it's basically the same thing. It's, but again, the genesis of Beavers was largely the same, right? It was, meant as another program for the younger youth who just happened to be following along at Cub Scout meetings. Now,
Birthed out of necessity almost.
pretty much.
Yep.
And to be fair, the Squirrel Scouts are also born out of necessity, but they seem to track a little bit less with that same story of, we'll just spin up a younger section for to account for the fact that, we have even younger kids accompanying their parents to Beaver Scout meetings. No, the Scout Association does have beavers, but Squirrel Scouts actually targets a younger ages than that. So I don't know what their Beaver Scout age range is. Their age range for Squirrel Scouts is 4 to 6.
So it could be possibly 6 to 8. Then maybe also still 5 to 7. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, that's information we could easily look up, but
6 to 8. Yeah, you're right.
okay.
So I just looked it up.
Which makes all of the other members slightly older per section.
Yeah, it shifts everything a little bit. And I mean, you'll find that all the time, right? Like you go country to country, they handle the breakdowns a little bit differently, right? You go to the US, it's different again because they don't even have beavers. They just have like lion cubs and the really young cub sections, which are like for, again, like the 5 and 6 year olds.
Right.
Or I think just 6 year olds. I don't know if they do 5 year olds. But anyways, so they just rolled out Squirrel Scouts. It was rolled out like literally in the last week or so. I'd picked up some news about it earlier on. I'd seen some like program templates and stuff earlier on. The badge program and stuff that they were whipping up for it. But like, I wasn't sure when it was launching. And so it evidently launched this month.
Way to go.
Yeah. So anyways, core age range for Squirrel Scouts, 4 to 6 years old. And sections, by the way, are known as drays.
Okay.
DREY. I'm assuming, I've never actually researched squirrel biology enough to know what the actual plural of squirrel is, like what you call a plurality of squirrels. So perhaps it is a dray. I don't know. Or maybe that's the official technical name for like where a squirrel lives, you know?
Could also just be a British thing.
Could be a British thing.
Yeah. We might call it, I don't know, a hole.
Maybe.
A squirrel home.
And I mean, sort of following now I don't know if Scout Association is like a pure one program thing, but they are broadly speaking patterning Squirrel Scouts after the older sections. So there's badges for activities and skills that have been learned, challenge awards, and a top section award.
Impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. They got a whole badge program. The uniform is quite sweet. It's like a bright red sweatshirt it's like a zipper, like kind of like the one you're wearing there, except minus the hood. But and bright red, obviously. But yeah, like a zippered sweater.
So it's not a vest like the Beavers?
Nope.
Well, Canadian Beavers, I don't know about the UK Beavers.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they wear vests. I think they have a shirt, but I don't know what color. One thing that is more sort of notable, and this is kind of an accommodation to the age range, is they don't really have like the same sort of law, promise, motto, code structure, right?
That'd be fair.
It's kind of hard to get them to memorize.
I don't know a lot of 4-year-olds that would have an easy time memorizing all 3 of those.
I mean, granted, you know, like my 4-year-old has several Gerald and Piggy books memorized, but that's not the same thing.
No, they'll memorize the things you don't necessarily want them to remember.
Yeah.
And they won't remember the things you really want them to remember.
Yeah.
Such is life.
So yeah, they don't have there's no squirrel law, but they do sort of have I guess a lot of their activities are focused around sort of a code of behavior.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And, although I guess they do still have like a simple promise with variations for, you know, like religious, secular, and again, open to boys and girls, all the stuff that we kind of come to expect from Scout programs today.
This is true.
So a bit on the history. The Northern Irish actually started with a squirrels program. It was called the Northern Ireland Squirrel Association. And this actually kind of emerges from the late 90s. And it was basically a feeder organization. So again, serving that sort of 4 to 6 year age range. Not a formal scouting program, but sort of designed to shape the youth and move them in the direction of Scouts.
Good idea.
And then they would feed them on up into Beavers.
I had my stepsister-in-law and her husband live in Ireland, and their kids were members of scouting there. So I'll have to find out if they were squirrels or not.
Yeah. Should reach out and find out.
I should.
So, like I mentioned before, unlike some of the other sections that have come along, Cubs, Beavers, this one wasn't born out of the necessity of, oh, hey, we have leaders showing up at meetings with younger kids in tow. The pilot program actually was really targeting, basically the Scout Association was looking to it as a way to increase membership, increase volunteer recruitment, and also to serve communities that have been traditionally underserved by scouting.
That's a great idea.
So the pilot program actually was mainly targeting Black, Asian, and other minority ethnic communities within the UK.
Very inclusive of them.
Indeed. And I guess the pilot program kind of kicked off in 2019. But the main impetus for the name, partly they showed it, I guess in one of the reports that the Scout Association published, they actually cited, have you ever seen Hey Dougie? The kids' TV show?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking the movie Up, but I'll go with what you're about to say.
Yeah. So apparently that was like one of the major influences, but I guess one of the big reasons that they named it Squirrels is because Brownsea Island is home to red squirrels.
Oh.
Yes. Apparently there's a wealth of red squirrels that live on Brownsea Island.
That connection makes a lot of sense. The The connection I was thinking was Doug the dog from Up. Who,
Yes.
Randomly yells out,
Squirrel.
which reminds me of most 4 to 6 year olds.
Yes. I have seen that GIF shared many, many times over the last few days, ever since I may have inadvertently posted news about Squirrel Scouts on the Scouts Canada discussion group on Facebook.
Most excellent then.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who's listening who has posted one of those memes. You make the world turn.
So, yeah. They did this pilot program, and I guess they found that they were largely successful, especially, again, in, sort of reaching areas that had sort of been previously underserved by scouting. So, now, the pandemic evidently slowed things down a little bit, but also basically sort of gave them, I guess it was, anyways, the pandemic changed their plans a little bit, but like basically all the stuff that they had been piloting, and some of it was actually piloted under the name Hedgehogs, but all of that kind of just, I guess, as a result of the pandemic, got lumped in under the Squirrels umbrella. And so as of September 2021, that's now the newest and youngest official section of the Scout Association of the UK. And again, like the major target is those underserved communities. Like that's sort of really where they're trying to drive this program to, because like in a way it's kind of I guess there's a few different things. For one, and I was weighing a lot of this stuff in my head because like, it would be really nice to maybe launch scout sections in these areas too. But on the other hand, you kind of got to get people in the door first. Yeah. And my own track record notwithstanding, generally speaking, the younger sections that deal with, younger children, the budgetary considerations are not nearly as high as running an effective scout group.
Oh no.
You could
like way lower.
Yes.
I wish I could remember the amount that we historically have spent on our Beaver section, but it was generally less than $100 a kid.
Yeah. Again, our own misadventures notwithstanding, it is usually usually a cheaper endeavor for the group. And so, I think that's a big part of it, right? Because like this is a way that they can get a scouting presence into a community. And a lot of these communities do have a lot of young children.
Yes.
But, without necessarily the big financial ask of, say, a scout group. And also, you and I both have come to appreciate the fact that, our biggest recruitment is at the Beaver level.
Absolutely at the Beaver level. Recruitment, not just for new Beavers, but also Scouters. At the leadership level.
Yeah. How many of our pack scouters and how many of the scout scouters joined at Beavers?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I can name them all because they all joined the same year I did.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. The only one that preceded you was Brandy.
Brandy.
There were others.
Victor was already there.
Well, Victor was already around for a long time.
Of course,
his kids were older.
Esteemed commissioner had been in the program for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. But everybody that was a scouter when Ella joined Beavers for the first time, like they're all gone. None of them is still with the group. At least not in an official capacity.
Speaks volumes, though.
Right.
There's a huge change between the first year that I joined and the second year that I joined, just in terms of uptake from the community and how much better the program got.
But what I mean by that too is when I joined the first year, like all the Beaver Scouters were basically, they'd been there for a long time and they'd been running the program for a long time, but they were looking to get out.
Yeah.
They were done. Most of their kids had aged up and, whatever. So most of them left after that first year. I think one of them stuck around to help out as much as he could for the second year that I was a scouter with the Beavers.
Right.
But that was when I had to start recruiting, right? But, that was when Brandy came in the door. You joined soon thereafter. And then we just started onboarding so many people that are still with us. Brandy's still around. She's a scouter now for Ella's troop.
She is. So is Jim.
Yep. You're with Green Troop.
Yep. Oh boy. Who else? Jason. James. I'm trying to think of who else is still in the groups.
Samira kind of, because Miriam was a beaver. So Samira would have gotten, she'd been part of that group. She's around. Lots more.
Jacqueline didn't join until her kids were in Cubs.
Yeah, Cubs. But I mean, and not that Cubs isn't, I mean, our Cub recruitment was oddly successful because we had all those people from the other group come and join us at one time. But like, there's a lot of Scouters that are still floating around. It's like, oh yeah, you came on when I was desperate for people in Beavers and you're still here. How about that?
You've been here since the beginning.
At least the beginning of the Renaissance. So yeah, I can totally see how this would, be a really great way for them to bring Scouting into communities, because this is, I mean, especially because, like nobody or almost nobody is going to send their 4-year-old to an event and then just be like, see you in an hour.
Not generally.
There's going to be, I mean, it will happen, with your like daycares and pre-Ks and things like that. Yeah. But for like some evening community thing, not as much. Parents are going to be more likely to stick around. And so definitely better opportunities for recruitment there. And if the kids are having fun with it, then, obviously at some point the kids will age up. You'll need a Beaver program and, see where that goes.
Voila.
Yeah. It's not a bad way at all to bring Scouting into a community at a level that is, going to assure you a large number of parent volunteers. And then, obviously, I guess the Scout Association is doing what they can to also, recruit and train up and provide other volunteers to sort of help sections get going, right? Out of their existing volunteer structure.
I noticed Scouts Canada is trying to do a better job of helping new volunteers to kind of tread the waters a little bit. But it's always nice when another program somewhere else does something unique, because it gives a different perspective to how else this could also work.
Exactly. And it kind of, my the response I've had from a few Scouters, and actually even from my wife, is just like, aren't they having a volunteer crunch? Like, isn't that kind of a problem? And it is. I mean, everyone's having a volunteer crunch.
Oh, for sure.
And yet at the same time too, and this is something that I think I wound up stressing to somebody on the Scouts Canada discussion group. It's like, we are having a volunteer crunch. Like literally, I've lived that, I know what that's like. I've been like the Scouter who's been in the situation of like, I either need you, parent, coming in the door now to stay, or I have to send you and your kid home.
Yep.
I have been at that limit.
And those are never fun. Because the youth are the ones who suffer.
It is. It is totally the youth who suffer for that. And I mean, I was so glad when they relaxed the ratio requirements, because, back then it was 5-1 for Beavers, which, at least 8-1 gives me a little breathing room.
Oh yeah.
But still, like I've been in those desperate situations where it's like, I literally don't have the people to run this meeting. And yet at the same time, well, what do? You either cancel it or you go ahead anyway. And if you cancel it, I mean, and sometimes you do just wind up having to cancel it, right? Like sometimes you do just wind up having to say, no, we can't make this work tonight. We'll just cut it off. Yeah. But it's the go ahead anyway. Like that's, and admittedly, those were some of the more memorable meetings too, that were then had the kids talking to other kids. And I mean, that's the only reason Brandy found us, right? Is because we just said, to heck with it. We're going to do this anyways. And if it inconveniences a few parents, that's unfortunate, but you know what? Better we do it and the kids have their time and they have some fun doing it. And then they go to school and they talk about the cool thing they did last night, and other kids hear about that. And then, all of a sudden you have this one kid saying, well, I'm in Beavers too, and we don't do anything like that. And the next thing I know, his mom's emailing me.
Hey, what's going on in your group?
Yeah.
You guys are doing such a great job.
Yeah,
what you mean? You don't find out?
Yeah, you don't just play dodgeball all day. No, that's kind of my last resort. Well, crafts is my last resort, but dodgeball is my second to last resort.
Indeed.
And so yeah, like I mean, and at the end of the day, if you're able to provide an age-appropriate adventure for these young kids, like especially like even William and I some days. He'll literally just like put his shoes on, wait for me at the door. And his big thing is crosswalks. He likes crosswalks. So
I could see how that would be exciting.
Mm-hmm. So there's one It's a little over a kilometer that way.
Okay.
So you kind of go down the block and out, and then you take the first right, and that curves around, and then eventually one of the right turns off of that road will take you out to the main drag to the south of the community here. So there's a crosswalk there.
Okay.
And then you work your way back along the main drag. There's another crosswalk. And then you go a little bit further up, and there's a third crosswalk, which takes you to the high school that's almost directly south of here. And then you work your way back up from the high school past where the kids go to school, just at the end of the block here, and then back up to the house. And it's almost a 3-kilometer circuit.
Perfect.
And he will just like suit up and be ready to go and just walk the whole thing. And he's 4, like
that kid's almost ready to start doing his own backcountry camping.
Right. And I mean too, like, when we had him out like in Jasper a few weeks ago, he was, I mean, we're hiking up Old Fort Point, and he is like, he's like just raring to go, just trying to like drag us up, because Old Fort Point is a small mountain. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a teeny tiny mountain in the middle of Jasper Park there. And there's very few guardrails, but he is just like raring to go. And he's like, I'm going to drag whoever's holding my hand up the mountain. Just let go of my hand. I'll be fine. Just like, I want to go.
It's all good. Don't worry about it. I can't get hurt.
Grace is just like having conniptions, like watching him. But like it's just, kids at that age, they do have a wonderful sense of adventure. What they don't necessarily have is an understanding of risk, but they have a wonderful sense of adventure. And if you can stoke that, and if you can, make it be something that they look forward to, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they do remember. They do remember. And that's the other thing, that I mentioned about William's walk that he does with the crosswalks. He doesn't need me to guide him.
No, he knows.
Yeah, he's got the whole thing mapped out.
Oh, yeah.
And even to the point where, like, if I park him in front of Google Maps, he can navigate the route.
Okay, that's a little bit more impressive.
Yes.
Not that him being able to tell you which way to go isn't impressive, but like,
well, it means that he's actually like recognizing the landmarks right at that point, right? It's like, oh yeah, that house, we turn here.
Right. And there's a certain amount of cognition that has to go with that in order to be able to process that information, right?
Exactly.
To be able to on a computer and say, well, and then we turn left here, Daddy, and then we turn right here, and then
I was like, there's the
right, like, yeah.
Yep. And so, like I say, kids at that age, like they love adventure. And if it's, they will want to repeat the adventures that they have.
Yes, they will.
Because like,
to nauseum.
Yeah. Ad nauseum. But like, I mean, giving them the opportunity to explore and even just to be with other kids their age. Right. And that's another thing too, that I think, the timing of launching Squirrel Scouts is really, really great, because again, like, that's William's age bracket. Right. And
yes.
Like our whole thing was like, we have the 3 girls, and they have a lot of obviously, same age peers and friends, but a lot of their friends from school don't have like younger siblings, like a lot of them are in school with the youngest kid in the pile. In the family.
William.
Right. So William has never really had a lot of same age peers. Like when he was 2 and going to the schoolyard, there were a few like babies in strollers, but that's not really, you can't really play with a 3-month-old in a stroller.
Way harder.
Yeah. They don't really know how to build a sandcastle.
Not really.
Or do
they don't really know how to do a lot of things in 3 months.
They can eat the sand, but that's not good for them.
They can do that. They can fill their diaper.
Yeah.
They're good at that.
Yeah.
They can cry a lot.
Yeah. And like even now, there's, he's 4 coming up on 4.5 here. And there's like his closest age peer at the playground is like barely 3. And we had actually made like we had resolved that 2020 was going to be the year of like getting out into the community and like meeting families and finding William some same age buddies. Nope.
Yeah. And then the world said, hold my beer.
Yeah. Yeah. That did. Yeah. Nothing. No, those plans did not happen. And there's a lot of kids that are probably in similar boats to that, right? Like there's a lot of kids who that whole 2020 gap, like was literally, when they should have really started to be getting out in the world and having these social situations and being with other kids, right? And all of that, most of that was just like, nope, stop, pause, not happening. And so now, he's navigating pre-K And I'm so glad that they were able to actually put together a pre-K program at the school here, the same one his sisters go to. But, they're trying to navigate this whole, or he's trying to navigate this whole pre-K thing, and all the kids in his class are trying to navigate this whole pre-K thing. And it's not quite as smooth as you might hope, because some of them, yeah. But a lot of them are just, this is really now their first foray into these social experiences. And like with all the other kids, there were all kinds of like neat, programs for 3 and 4-year-olds in the community, that all the girls got to go through. But all of those, of course, would have gotten postponed as well in 2020. A lot of them haven't come back.
Indeed.
And so, like William he's on a very different trajectory. And I suspect there's a lot of kids his age that are on that same sort of trajectory where, now they're hitting 4 and they're able to go back into these social situations again. But that first critical year has been missed. And so it's a little more awkward, and there's a little bit more teething pains involved.
Yeah.
And so something like this, I think, is, maybe doubly good in that respect because, again, it's another opportunity for kids in that age range, William's age range, to have social situations outside of the context of like a school or a day home, right?
Well, and yeah, at that age, they're such sponges. And like you said, those are definitely the times where you want them to get out and start getting some adventures and meeting other kids and learning that the world isn't just the 4 walls of their home, right?
Exactly.
Or, the 2-block radius of their neighborhood. Like there is something slightly bigger than them at play in the world.
Sure.
It would be nice if Scouts Canada would also consider opening up Beavers a little bit more to that younger age group, like the 4-year-old age group, because I think that there's a lot of benefits to the program we currently have that would be helpful. But, to have something dedicated to the younger youth is so important because it really helps with a lot of their development and social skills. And so, yeah.
For sure. I'm just looking at the UK Scout Shop. And so some of the activity badges that Squirrel Scouts can earn.
Okay.
There's the Be Active badge, which has a picture of a sneaker, and I think that's a tennis ball and a jump rope.
Perfect.
Very English. There's the Brilliant Builder activity badge with sort of a tripod or a quadrupod of sticks. There's the Super Chef badge.
Ooh.
The Get Creative badge. It's got a crayon drawing. There's the Let's Celebrate activity badge. Exciting Experiments. The Feel Good activity badge. It's like a smiling sun. The Let It Grow activity badge. This seems to be about gardening because it's a watering can. The Explore Outdoors badge. The Storytime badge. Local Superhero. Wild Activity. And then also some challenge badges about like the world around us and the About Me challenge badge. All Adventure, All Together. And then there is a Chief Scout Acorn Award. Oh, that's just the best. Although that's kind of weird because I think there's also an Acorn Award elsewhere in the program. Or like a Silver Acorn.
There is an Acorn Award.
Yeah.
Yes.
But either way. So that, just looking over the badges, like, you can kind of see where some of the program focuses are, right? Got the physical activity stuff. You've got the get outside and just like explore the world and build stuff. And, the chef thing. We have something similar to that in Beavers. Exciting Experiments and gardening. And so it seems to cover a really good range of stuff.
It's all hands-on. Mm-hmm. It all sounds hands-on.
It is all hands-on by the look of it, yeah.
Which is, your tactile senses are another thing that develops around those ages, right?
For sure. Oh, I want to order these hoodies so bad.
If you're British and listening, we're talking about a jumper. Jumper with a hood.
Mm. Yeah. Look at this. This is the adult size one. And they're all sold out right now, which is terrible. But look, it's the S-tail. It's a red shirt with the S-tail.
Oh,
I want it so bad.
Oh, yes. We may need some of those.
Yeah. Anyways. So yeah, I just, like I say, I just wanted to geek out about Squirrel Scouts a little bit because like, I am so stoked to see, to see a new scouting program emerge at all. Like that's just the best thing. I love seeing that. But then also, the fact that it does serve, a younger age. and so, really gives us an opportunity to step just a slightly younger branch of a slightly younger category of kids into some scouting adventures. And yeah, exactly like you say, through what appear to be just all hands-on, quote, learn by doing, end quote, activities. I know that, Scouts Canada is not going to like turn around tomorrow and be just like, we're doing Squirrel Scouts too, right? I'm not going to be able to enroll Willie in it this year.
Oh, no. It's at least, at the very least, they might start a pilot program somewhere in Ontario.
Yeah, 5 years from now.
Probably.
But, at the same time, for anybody listening at Scouts Canada, I really wish there was something I could register my 4-year-old son in right now. And I'm pretty sure I'm probably not the only one. And I really think this would be cool to bring to Canada as well. And that's the other thing that I like is that, Scouts, Cub Scouts, that all came from England and kind of got exported everywhere. Beaver Scouts started here in Canada, and we exported that to other countries, then their scouting programs. And now again, new scouting program starts in England. Will it be exported to other countries? I sure as heck hope so. But I really like that the scouting movement can do that, right?
Absolutely.
Where different countries can, come up with ideas that really expand and enhance the program and what it can offer to different groups of youth. And then all of a sudden, hey, let's do that.
Well, then, even if it means slightly changing some of our program age appropriate activities, it would be okay to make beavers 7 and 8-year-olds,
or even just 6 to 7, right? Like squirrels could be 4 to 5, beavers could be 6 to 7,
right?
Because there's a lot of growth that happens there, like 5 to 7.
Huge amount.
And
absolutely.
I've commented on this in the past, probably on the podcast, definitely just offline. 6 to 8, the Cub Scout range, 8 to 10, the Cub Scout range.
Yeah.
There's changes that you see there. But it's not quite as profound as 5 to 7. There is a ton that happens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
A 7-year-old is a very different kind of critter than a 5-year-old.
Absolutely.
And so I think it might almost, if, not that anyone is going to ask me, but if it were me designing how to bring something like this to Canada, I would probably say, let's put, we'll make squirrels a 2-year program, beavers a 2-year program, put the 4 and 5-year-olds in the squirrel section, 6 and 7-year-olds in the beaver section. And then we can sort of really amp up the adventure level of beavers, move that closer to Cub Scouts in terms of, what we can do with youth in that section. And then, Squirrel Scouts, we can kind of keep at a more currently beaverish level. Yeah,
that's more of your once a quarter sleepover somewhere cool. Or your every day's a hands-on learning activity.
Yep. Honestly, sleepovers would be about the only thing that I wouldn't necessarily want to attempt with a 4-year-old. I mean, I know mine's good for him, but
many might not be.
And you're definitely getting into the realm of where toilet training and sleep training are spotty.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that was ever to be attempted, the parents would definitely have to attend.
We would have to bring that rule back.
Yeah.
And, lots of exchanges of clothes. But you know what?
Clothes.
I mean, it's not like, we haven't been dealing with these things before.
Indeed not. Yeah. No, there are definitely going to be some beavers who just aren't ready that way. And that's okay too. Like everybody kind of grows their own way. It's funny. A neighbor of mine once said that by the time they're all in high school, they will all go to the bathroom properly.
Pretty much.
Anything
before then is kind of a shot in the dark.
It's a crapshoot, brother. How you look at it doesn't.
Pun intended.
To your other point, I was going to say Cubs is almost a plateau in terms of growth. Like they're almost at a crossroads of, okay, mentally I'm still growing. Physically, I'm slowing down a little bit. But then you get to Scouts, and that's when maturity starts.
Yeah, that's when puberty hits, and that's when, all kinds of stuff starts happening, definitely.
All of a sudden, your daughter's telling you off, and you have no idea why.
Oh, no, I know why. It's because 30 seconds earlier, I tapped 2 buttons on my phone, and her Wi-Fi dropped like a rock.
I've been threatening to do that with my kids. You're going to lose your Wi-Fi. Oh.
You think I'm joking.
No, he's not joking. Nope. Yeah, it's interesting that the changes that you go through. I mean, Beavers, and I assume in Squirrel Scouts, it's a huge, huge growth. You get slightly less growth in Cubs. Not to say that there isn't. Mm-hmm. And then way more growth in Scouts.
Yeah.
As they start to learn, hey, I'm starting to learn how to become an adult.
Mm-hmm. That whole independence thing really kind of comes creeping in the door.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when you start getting up there in the higher ages.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you want to see that as a scout leader. You do.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, obviously within reason, you know, if they're if you're going to tell them, no, you really shouldn't jump in the lake, it's 4 degrees Celsius. And they're like, I'm going to go jump in the lake anyways. No, you have to intervene because hypothermia exists and is real. But,
and it gets really cold in Canada.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in general, you do want to see that independence, you know, sort of find itself and foster itself. And really, like, you know, your role as a scouter is not to drag them kicking and screaming to it. It's just sort of to help, you know, sort of like I mentioned at the start, right? You're more there to help shape it.
Yes.
You know, to sort of take this burgeoning independence in the scout before you and, you know, help them turn it towards things like, you know, resiliency and adaptability and creativity and sort of, you know, just a general sense of comfort with the world around them, right? To sort of have that, you know, not like a braggadocio or anything like that, but just sort of that general sort of to liken it to a passive ability in a video game. But just sort of that, you know, sort of default confidence in their own abilities and in their ability to assess a situation and just be in a place.
Yes, absolutely.
So, but then, yeah, like with Cub Scouts, yeah, like, I mean, what you can get an 8-year-old Cub Scout to do, what you can get a 10-year-old Cub Scout to do, you can get an 8-year-old Cub Scout to figure out. You might have to, you know, it's a little bit more of a learning curve, but not really a lot. Yeah. But it's definitely...
It's not the same stretch as a 4-year-old to a 7-year-old.
No, not at all. And, I mean, you know, I'm on my 4th 4-year-old now, and literally, you know, just, I'm always shocked at just, you know, how quickly the lights turn on and and just how they change sometimes, like even, you know, me being away in June and then coming back and that month away and just how much taller William is and how much, I mean, not that he wasn't, you know, verbal already, not that he wasn't able to talk and communicate already, but just how much his speech has changed. And it was the same with Ella, you know, when I started doing this job and going away for a week or two at a time, and I'd come back and it's like, wow, you are like a substantially different kid than the one that I left 2 Sundays ago.
Yep. Yeah. No, you know what? At the younger ages, they change a lot faster.
Yep.
And I think if you have any time away, you notice it a lot more.
Mm-hmm. And it makes running programs for beavers kind of challenging because what's stimulating and like just at the edge of what a 5-year-old can do is kind of boring and humdrum to a 7-year-old.
Yes.
And figuring out how to scale activities week after week so that your 7-year-olds are not checking out, that's a challenge. And I think being able to split the section into, like, again, 4 and 5, 6 and 7, I think that would make a lot of the planning easier. I think it would make a lot of the actual doing of things easier.
Sure does.
Because your 6 and 7-year-olds are definitely closer in ability, and your 4 and 5-year-olds are as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and any of the online Beaver meetings that we had to have last year was especially challenging because how do you keep the attention of a 5-year-old online? And it was a huge challenge.
Yes.
The 7-year-old was still a challenge, just not to the same extent. Like if we didn't create an entertaining program that made them laugh or made them think or made them consider and ponder, you were going to lose them. Mm-hmm. And you knew the kids who didn't return the next week were probably the kids that were super bored the week before because for whatever reason, we just weren't as entertaining as we could have been.
In a way, I mean, it kind of, we all had to study, like, how to design video games, right? Because not that we were constantly playing video games with the youth in our online meetings, Among Us sessions with the Cubs notwithstanding, but, just in video game design, there's sort of that concept of a feedback loop, sort of that, and I mean, it's a dopamine hit, basically, right? Yep. The Halo developers, when they were talking about this years ago now, they talk about like, and even though Halo has, sprawling worlds and a really, really complex story that unfolds over the course of many, many hours of telling, it still has a 30-second immediate feedback loop, right? Every 30 seconds, something is happening. The player has to interact with something and something happens as a result of it. Mm-hmm. Whether that's, a monster that they have to shoot at or some interface element that they have to trigger to make something happen elsewhere. There's that constant 30-second loop that is just pulling you, just driving players through the game. Yep. And most games have something similar to that. And really, I mean, that's kind of how an online meeting for 5-year-olds has to go, is that every, 30 seconds to a minute, there has to be something that just, yep. They can't just be listening the whole time. I was so impressed, I still, and I mean, I've told this story so many times, but I'll tell it again because I'm still so impressed at how the BioWare guys handled the board game meeting with the kids. They didn't talk for more than 15 minutes.
No, they really didn't.
Very quick summary. Here's what a game is. Here's all the little pieces of it that have to work together to make a game. Now let's roll out the paper and get you drawing.
And they did it. The fact that they did it in one meeting, less than one meeting, is probably the most impressive part about that.
Yep.
And all of the Beavers at least had somewhat of an idea as to what they had to do in order to make a game. We still play that. I'm sure you guys do too, but we still play that game. And yep, I think you and I have different versions.
Which one do you have?
We have the space one.
Well, I have both. I have the space one and the dam.
Oh yeah, of course you would.
Yeah, I have the leftovers. So I have both. But yeah, I mean, my kids were with your kids. They built the space one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do still pull it out occasionally. Sometimes they even take it to school, actually. Because they occasionally have like board game days at the school.
Oh, I might encourage my kids to try and do that. Thankfully, they're both in different in different classes this year. So the older two can take a game each. Now, mind you, Julia's going to have to make sure she asks her brother, "Can I take your game?" But it's an entertaining game.
Yeah, and they came up with it in literally 45 minutes the one night, and then maybe another hour of play testing and revisions the next night.
Yeah,
and and it all started with just like a quick 10-minute chat. Like, hey, here's what a game is. You have this element and this element and this element, and they have to work together. And the easiest way to do it is to just pick a game you already know and change that until it's something different. Yeah. And running with that, they just, and it was lightning in a bottle. Like, I don't know if we're ever going to be able to do that again, but just seeing it happen and seeing how well the guys from BioWare they nailed the audience, they nailed the presentation, and the kids just ran with it, right?
Yes.
Short, quick, engaging, and then massive, massive hands-on.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and one of the funnest things, like even as a scouter, I got something out of it. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just age appropriate to the Beavers, but as an adult, I still feel like I learned a whole lot more about something that I interact with often, not as often as I would like to, but often enough.
Yep. Yeah. Because everybody games, almost everybody games.
I think so.
And, whether that's a game of solitaire or Genshin Impact or whatever the heck you're playing lately.
Yep.
Or Among Us or Minecraft or whatever else, like all of those elements are there. All the different, elements of what make a board game. Well, they're there in a video game too. And, it's just the best games are the ones where they work together in perfect harmony. But just being able to actually communicate that to the kids in a succinct, engaging way and then just turn them loose and have them just run riot with their imaginations for 45 minutes. And the fruits of it, like you say, I mean, still have it, still play it.
Great game.
And, this wasn't really intended to be like a how to design your Beaver program session. But,
No.
The Squirrel Scouts, like you mentioned, like you say, it all seems to be a real focus on the tactile, the hands-on.
Yeah.
And if so, I mean, that's just, I think that program, I hope that program succeeds. Evidently, they already have over 200 drays registered throughout the UK. So,
okay.
And I mean, a lot of those would have been like the pilot program ones coming on board.
Oh, yeah.
But still, I mean,
that's still an impressive number.
Yeah. This stuff happens fast. Like I remember when they opened Scouts BSA to female membership, right? Like they had, I don't remember how many dozens of girl-only troops that launched simultaneous, basically, to that announcement.
Oh, man.
Like they were already chartered. Like they were basically just, chartered, incorporated, ready to go. They just needed the actual, like, okay, here's the go-live date.
Well, I mean, kind of a shout-out to BSA, but also a little bit of shame on you. Like, it should not have taken you this long to get a female program working. At the same time, good for you guys for doing something.
In a way, yeah. I can't pour too much condemnation on them because, again, Scouts Canada took a leisurely 20 years to roll out its fully co-ed program. And Scouts BSA said, 2 years.
Yep. And their rollout on paper is way better looking so far.
Seems to be working for them. I mean, little quirks, and we've discussed some of them in previous episodes. But like how they're working through the quirks are great. And certainly I've, again, with, not that I've been to the US in a couple of years now. Well, I guess January 2020, February maybe. Anyways.
2019 for me.
Yeah, been a while. But I mean, having been to the US sort of post rollout and just seeing how they were making it work, seeing how troops were making this work was great. It's like, hey,
well, they certainly have a lot of other material from other areas that have done it that they could fall on and utilize for the handbook, right? To how to do this the right way.
Well, but I think they went about it and Scouts Canada did this too, right? Is that, like Scouts Canada's program really doesn't do, the only thing that's weird about the Scouts BSA program is that technically the girls need to be chartered in a separate troop. Practically, this means that they have an A troop and a B troop and they meet on the same night in the same place. Okay. That's how most of the groups are getting around it. Or dealing with it, right? Because then they can share volunteers and like they have certain requirements. There have to be a certain number of female volunteers and things like that. But like broadly speaking, it's just, yeah, cool. We have an A troop and a B troop, or sometimes they have like the B troop and the G troop, boys, girls.
Yep.
But they meet same place, same night, do the same stuff at the same time, plan the same adventures. Because there's no restrictions or anything like that, right? They just have to have a couple of female scouters and they're good to go. And I mean, but I think, they succeed with that the same way that we succeed with that, which is that, their program doesn't really, they don't bother making distinctions, right? The program's not about, oh yeah, boys do this, girls do that. It's just about, here's how you pitch a tent.
Yes.
And everybody can just approach that, right? And, maybe in aggregate, on average, boys will approach it one way, boys will approach a particular challenge or skill one way, and girls will approach it in a slightly different way. But at the end of the day, the program is just like, here's the thing, how you do the thing is you, here's the thing.
Yep. There's a right way and a wrong way to set a tent up. Mm-hmm. How you get there isn't always black and white.
Right. So, and yeah, I mean, you know what? Everyone should learn how to pitch a tent.
I wholeheartedly agree. Mm-hmm. Wholeheartedly agree. And one of the more important things that I think my son has now realized is that when you're checking your gear, and you should always check your gear before you go out on an adventure.
Oh, yes.
Of what some of the things to look for. The tent that we borrowed from the group worked very well, and we were able to set it up, but there's a couple of cuts in it, and the rope in the poles was not as taut as it should be.
Oof.
Not elasticy at all.
That is not fun.
But it still worked. The tent was great. Still worked. It was fine.
Nice.
I was just thinking of something, a quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Go on.
Listening to him talk about an incident where, and I know I'm going to butcher this. So Dr. DeGrasse Tyson, if you're listening, I'm sorry. He was watching a young person. It must have been like, I don't know, 4 or 5 year old hanging out with the mom, and they approached a puddle, and I think the mom scurried the kid away from the puddle to not let them get into it. And he was sad for that youth because at those ages, it's so important that they do those things, jump in that puddle, because they're learning science. And so with the Squirrel Scouts being a lot of hands-on things, it's very, I would think that he would applaud something like that because it's scientific and it's STEM and it's helping them to grow and discover the world around them from a scientific standpoint as well.
I even go one further and say that it's also, I mean, definitely, you know, it's getting to that exploratory and kind of stepping into the scientific side of things. It's also hitting the imagination.
Yes.
And the wonder.
Yes.
And, you know, which is kind of more, those are the stepping stones into like the philosophical side of things, right?
Yes.
Because it's, you know, it's setting them up for all of that stuff, for exploring everything, that is out there waiting, right? It's, you know, it's getting them used to the methods of literally getting their hands dirty, but then also, you know, getting them to just think and to imagine and to wonder and to be in awe of things, you know, and it's pretty much all great at that point.
Absolutely, it is.
Okay, I do have one shout out, and this is to Scouter Matthew, who a while ago, late August, actually posted on the Scouting Stuff Facebook page.
Thank you for doing that, Matthew.
Yes, thank you, sir. He says, "Hi, everyone. The recent episode on the Woggle prompted me to get a picture of the unique Woggle that our group has been using for many years. I couldn't get an exact year that it was introduced. For a long time, they were cut from pine, but these days we've been getting them cut from sheets of wood on a CNC machine. The photo he included is of his white-tailed daughter modeling the Woggle. And it's kind of I don't really know what shape I would describe this as, but like basically it's kind of looks like a little butterfly almost.
Oh, yeah.
With 4 holes milled in, like with 4 holes drilled into. So imagine, if you will, like a butterfly and 4 holes drilled into each like of the wings, and the beaver scarf is passed through. So it goes, you know, kind of passes out one hole and then in another hole. And the two tails of the scarves make an X across the front of the Woggle.
Yeah.
It is rather neat.
That is neat.
You can hopefully still find that on the Scouting Stuff Facebook page. Should still be there. But yes, that was one that got sent in to us, and I was really quite edified to see that one come in. So thank you, Scouter Matthew, for sharing that one.
And does Scouter Matthew say where he's from?
No, I could face stalk him, but I don't feel like doing that.
No, all good.
Yes. But I believe he is, they are a Canadian group at any rate. And let me just have a quick look at if I have any other things on the comment side of the house. Well, I mean, I do have to give a little shout out to Scouter Carl, because at some point he, when I put an article up on the Scouting Stuff Facebook page, Scouter Carl Grimsditch over from the UK, his scout troop met with Ellis Scout Troop at some point over the pandemic. And, but he commented, and he actually drew my attention to the Squirrel Scout logo when I posted an article on the Facebook page. So thank you, Carl, for that. That's awesome. And of course, a big shout out. Actually, well, first, anybody you want to shout out? We got a minute.
I'm going to give a quick shout out to Colin, who, in case anybody hasn't realized, was not on this podcast this time. I hope that he's doing okay, because
where are you, man?
Give us a call. Text us. Email us.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go for some beverages, Colin.
We need to. It's been too long since we've done one of these, kind of live.
I know a certain scouter that may be turning 40 this year.
Oh.
And I'm looking right at him.
I don't turn 40 this year.
I thought you and my brother were the same age.
2022.
Never mind. Scratch that.
I mean, only 12 days into 2022, but yeah.
Fair enough. Oh, yeah. No, it's coming up, though.
Close enough.
Yeah, it's coming up. I'm going to say I'm right.
Yeah, you're close enough.
My brother turns 40 right away, so there we go. So, yeah, anyways, Colin, I miss hearing you.
Yes. Give me a call, dude. And of course, as always, a big thank you to the folks at Scouting Radio for rebroadcasting our episodes to their worldwide Scouting audience. If you're listening to us on Scouting Radio right now, do let us know. Reach out, get in touch. We would love to hear from you.
Well, I know Colin would always ask, and how do they get in touch with you?
He would ask that. And I would usually reply that you can email us, scoutingstuffpodcast@gmail.com or outlook.com. I'm not really picky. You can leave us voice messages at scoutingstuffpodcast.com. Just go to the webpage, look down to the right, and there should be a little blue microphone icon. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord, links to all of these are in the show notes, and you can get in touch with us by all of them.
The Discord page is often super happening.
Really?
No.
Or you can
the one
us,
picture
yes.
that I put of your daughter's really weird arrows.
Oh, her arrow tricks, yes. Well, we call them arrow tricks, but it's just,
super unintentional flukes that were amazing.
How she got it through two of the fabric loops.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you
both?
How do you even? I don't even know. Or through the. You got to go on the Discord to see these things. Maybe I got to tweet the balloon one because the
balloon one was amazing.
They put balloons up on the target board for the scouts to shoot at, and she hit the balloon technically, but it went through the knot. It didn't go through the inflated part. It went through the knot.
And I might add, the balloon did not pop.
Yeah, no, the balloon is still fully inflated. The arrow's
impressive part.
Right next to it, and she went right through the knot.
Scouter Grizzly and I were looking at it, going, how? Ella, these are the most amazing shots I had ever seen. Yeah. And I'm a new range master, so please keep them coming.
There you go. And of course, you can leave us a review. You can also leave us a review. We could use a few of those. Actually, I think there was a new one recently, now that I think about it.
Was it a 5-star? They're always 5 stars. Why am I
maybe. I think I did have a new one, actually. I gotta look now.
If you don't have a 5-star review, maybe this isn't the page for you. Make fun of Joe Rogan or something.
Well, actually, one of the podcasts I listen to, that's how they always begin. It's just like, we would love for you to leave us a review. We'd love for you. Yeah. Something to the effect of like, if you like what you hear, please leave us a glowing 5-star review on iTunes. If you don't like what you hear, please forget I said anything. And I'll take the. Oh, yeah, that's right. This was in late August. This was from someone named Osbot. They said, truly enjoyable. 5 stars. 5-star review. There you go.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir. Or ma'am. Just getting back to scouting as my own kids are of age, this podcast has been a great connection for me to get into a scouter mindset and rediscover a passion for my youth. I appreciate the wisdom on things like knife safety, as well as the regular news updates. So, shout out to Osbot as well.
Excellent.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, Scouter Corey, for making the time tonight.
Thanks, Scouter Ken.
Oh, good to have a chat.
Thankfully, it's not that far from my house. I mean, it's about a half hour.
Yeah, half-hour drive, 30-odd kilometers, whatever. The Hyundai makes it easier.
It sure does.
I mean, I make the reverse drive every week.
You sure do. Multiple times.
Sometimes multiple times, definitely. Less so now. Everything's on Wednesday nights for now. All right, and thank you out there for listening, and until next time, be prepared.